This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets.
World gas demand will reach an all-time high in 2025 driven by growth in Asia, but delays to new liquefied natural gas (LNG) production will curb supply, the International Energy Agency said on Thursday. Gas demand, especially in Europe, fell sharply in 2022-23 as prices soared following the loss of large volumes of Russian pipeline gas supply due to the war in Ukraine. This increased the demand for globally traded LNG and put Europe in direct competition with buyers in Asia.
Oil prices rose on Friday and settled with their biggest weekly gains in over a year on the mounting threat of a region-wide war in the Middle East, although gains were limited as U.S. President Joe Biden discouraged Israel from targeting Iranian oil facilities. Brent crude futures rose 43 cents, or 0.6%, to settle at $78.05 per barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures gained 67 cents, or 0.9%, to close at $74.38 per barrel. Israel has sworn to strike Iran for launching a barrage of missiles at Israel on Tuesday after Israel assassinated the leader of Iran-backed Hezbollah a week ago. The events had oil analysts warning clients of the potential ramifications of a broader war in the Middle East.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
Spain's crude oil imports from Venezuela have this year reached levels not seen since 2009, according to data released on Friday by CORS, an arm of Spain's Energy and Environment Ministry. In August, Spain imported 303,000 metric tons of crude from Venezuela, with the total so far this year topping 2 million tons. That is just shy of the 2.1 million tons registered in 2009 at this time of the year. OPEC member Venezuela's oil exports reached high levels in August, though power blackouts and equipment outages led to a decline in September.
The U.S. Supreme Court declined on Friday to put on hold new federal air pollution rules from President Joe Biden's administration to tighten limits on mercury and methane, acting in challenges brought by a group of states, most of them Republican-led, and industry groups. The justices denied emergency requests by the states, as well as power and mining, oil and gas companies, to halt the Environmental Protection Agency rules while litigation continues in lower courts. The regulations, issued under the landmark Clean Air Act anti-pollution law, aim to cut mercury and other metals from coal-fired power plants' emissions, as well methane and other gases known as volatile organic compounds from oil and gas production. Next, we have the top news in metal markets. Indian Trade Minister Piyush Goyal and U.S. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo signed an agreement on Thursday to cooperate on strengthening supply chains in the two countries for lithium, cobalt and other critical minerals used in electric vehicles and clean energy applications. The Commerce Department said in a statement that the Memorandum of Understanding, signed during Goyal's visit to Washington, was aimed at building resilience in the sector for each country. Priority areas of focus include identifying equipment, services, policies and best practices to facilitate the mutually beneficial commercial development of U.S. and Indian critical minerals exploration, extraction, processing and refining, recycling and recovery, Commerce said.
Gold prices slipped on Friday after a stronger-than-expected U.S. jobs report poured cold water on expectations for an aggressive rate cut from the Federal Reserve next month, boosting the dollar. Spot gold was down 0.2% at $2,649.69 per ounce by 1:57 p.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time, 17:57 GMT, after touching a record high of $2,685.42 last week. U.S. gold futures settled 0.4% lower at $2,667.80. U.S. job growth accelerated in September and the unemployment rate slipped to 4.1%, further easing pressure on the Fed to deliver another 50 basis point rate cut at its November 6-7 policy meeting.
We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector.
The United Nations World Food Price Index jumped in September. Data released on Friday showed posting its biggest gain in 18 months on the back of surging sugar prices. The price index, compiled by the UN Food and Agriculture Organization to track the most globally traded food commodities, rose to 124.4 points in last month from 120.7 in August, the highest level since July 2023 and up 2.1% on the year. The sugar index soared 10.4% month-on-month, driven by worsening crop prospects in Brazil and concerns that India's decision to lift restrictions on sugarcane use for ethanol production may affect the country's export availabilities, FAO said.
That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.